Hey everybody, it's Charlie here with my co-host Russell.
Hey.
We're going to be doing a quick episodic release of like 4 or 5 episodes about understanding Filipinos. And the prequel, the soup and salad to that is I wanted to encourage Russ to watch Crazy Rich Asians, the movie. Not a lot of people I know that are Asian have saw this movie, Russ. So including to yourself,
Yeah.
Anyone in your immediate family actually caught the movie?
You know, I'm thinking about it. I saw a lot of people posting it online, like supporting it and saying how great it was. And I told myself I was gonna watch it eventually, and I think I just never really got around to it till we decided we're just gonna go watch it. And now I just told my brother to go watch it. I told my mom I got to take her to see it. I just think everybody should see it. And I just want to say thanks for, giving me that push to watch it.
No problem, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of what people in radio or podcasting do, they try to spread the gospel. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what we want to do is maybe help people understand about Filipinos.
Yeah.
Because you and I are immigrants.
Absolutely.
We're not.
Yeah.
We're not like, hey, fucking, Glendale. I'm from Glendale.
I know. I mean, we grew up in Glendale,
Yes.
but obviously we emigrated here.
Yeah. It's a big deal as far as for the difference between living in America, being an Asian American. The middle tier is immigrant American who's been living in America for a while, meaning us, like decades.
Yeah.
And then there's the newly, what did Rex Navarrete say? Fabulous.
Fresh off the boat.
You're fresh off the boat. It's like your first 5 years.
Yeah.
And then there's the gap of living in the actual mother country
Yeah.
of where you're from.
Yes.
So, with you, for you who's listening, you know now that Russ and I are immigrants, right? But we've lived there longer, so we're not embarrassing to take around amongst your American friends. We're not gonna glamorize like, oh my God, you have full running water.
Yeah. No.
We're not at that stage of immigration. Plus, everything's so much better now.
Yeah. Everything's so much better.
Right, like anywhere from engineering, agriculture, and so many different sorts of technological advancements, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I think it kind of ties in with the movie.
Sure.
Well, let me give you a background about myself. First, the Philippines is so diverse as far. I'm from the Philippines. I was born there. I came here in 1980 when I was 4.5 years old. And yes, it is a third world country, and when I was growing up in the Philippines, we didn't have running water. You know what I mean? So when I came here, there's hot running water and stuff, but I just don't want people to think that we were living in a jungle either. You know what I mean? Because I think I remember coming in here in 1980, and a lot of the kids in Glendale. Imagine Glendale in 1980. I was probably one of the rare Filipinos there. Because I remember
People won't even know what a Filipino is, right?
You know what? I went to this elementary school in Glendale, and it's gone now, but it's a big round church on Colorado next to the library. And I remember in kindergarten they were like, "What are you?" And I was like, "I'm Filipino." And the kids were like, "What's that? You're not Chinese? You're not Korean?"
Right.
And they would make the slanted eyes, right? And I'm like, and for me that was weird because I never knew there was nothing else but Filipino, right? And that whole culture shock of emigrating. And I think this is a great topic that we're talking about with the movie because, I remember my kindergarten teacher asking us what we had for breakfast that day. Because, sharing.
Sure.
And everybody was saying pancakes, waffles, bacon and eggs, right? Oatmeal. And I remember saying spaghetti.
Yeah, you know what though? That's just odd anyways. Right? I don't know a lot of Filipinos that have spaghetti for breakfast though.
Yeah, but it's like my both my parents had two jobs, right? So I would be the first person getting dropped off in the morning at 7 a.m. for daycare. I'd be the last person getting picked up at 6 p.m., right? And I remember there'd be a few times I had to go home with my teacher because my parents were still at work. You know what I mean? And for me to say spaghetti for breakfast, it was just normal for me because my mom would just make whatever. I'd eat in the car, literally going to school. You know what I mean?
Because as immigrant kids,
yeah,
your parents are grinding.
Yeah, they're grinding.
So guess what? You're having spaghetti for breakfast.
So the next time that question came around, because everybody was laughing at me, I would just mimic the other kids, like whatever they had for breakfast. Even if I had adobo and rice for breakfast, I would say, bacon and eggs.
Right.
Right? So it's just one of those things. Like growing up, I knew, like, yes, I came from a country that didn't have hot running water, you know, but both my parents were educated. They both had their college degrees, right? Accountants, right? CPAs and everything. And it just so happened that in the neighborhood that we lived in, Taytay Rizal, right? We had to boil our water for hot water, you know what I mean? And I think even till now, like, there's parts where there is no hot running water, but I don't want people to think that the Philippines or any other Asian country is really that behind.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because there are parts where I think there are parts in the Philippines that's way better than parts here in LA.
My angry fat fuck ass, if I was your classmate there, I'd be like, if I were, because you were made fun at, and then I had the same Ku Klux Klan pancakes that racist Jim over there from La Cañada had. Son of a bitch.
Oh, man. I mean, I got a lot of stories like that, because I did go to school in La Cañada. I went to Flint Ridge Prep for a few years.
Sure.
And I just... Filipino and Philippines was not something a lot of my classmates knew about. There's a Korean population, there's a Chinese American population, some Japanese, but Filipinos were kind of like, what's that? And me being, like really like I just wanted to learn more about us. So like, well, we fought with you guys in the war, World War II.
Good for
right?
you.
Mentioned like name dropping like MacArthur and all this stuff.
Sure.
Right? But it's just because I just wanted, and this was pre-internet era. It was just stuff I had to ask my parents about because I wanted to learn more about the Philippines growing up here, because not a lot of my classmates really knew what the Philippines was about. All I knew was, hey, we have Spam on the weekends and maybe some tuyo or whatever, like some dried fish, right, for the weekends. And it was like a delicacy for like a treat for my parents, because all week they'd be grinding and they would just be like going to like fast food places, you know what I mean? And I remember that the Pioneer chicken right there in Hollywood
on Sunset by Circuit City.
Yeah, we
might as well talk about the Lincoln Memorial, right?
Right. Yeah. We would get that every night on the way home, and we would just eat it in the car, So I mean, those are but for me that's nostalgic. That's like good memories, And I think. Just the fact of growing up as a Filipino immigrant, turning into a Filipino American in the 80s and 90s here, it's I think it made me who I am today.
Okay. So that's a great painting of your start and who you are.
Yeah.
For me, I was an illegitimate child. My mom was the other woman. My dad came from a wealthy pharmaceutical company, but was a fucko. I mean, he liked vagina. He liked to thrust vagina, eat vagina, pay for it, raise kids with it. That's my dad. So it was weird coming up because in the Philippines, if you had a helper, it was kind of like assumed, okay, you're about middle.
Yeah.
You're not upper class. And we had a driver, so okay, you're still middle. But we were outside kids, And my mom had a home in BF Homes, which is in the southern part of the metropolitan of Manila.
It's a nice area.
Used to be.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's another topic.
But that's a whole another episodic story. And my dad worked for several companies. One was for his dad, which is Columbia Tobacco. And my mom had a bunch of her sisters and her parents move to the U.S. There was the opportunity of my grandpa in New York working as a security, then became cop. And then there was a point where my dad, I don't know what the fuck he and my mom was thinking. My mom was thinking like, yo, let's get these guys American educated. Not that the Philippine education is the stereotype. It's you're there from 7 to 4. Like it's a fucking job.
Yeah.
It's hardcore. So the intelligence and the workload factor is there.
Yeah.
But my mom just always wanted to have my brother and I finish with a college degree, and then you're up to your own devices at that point. Just fulfill that. So there's a stint where it was like 0 to 3 in Manila, 3 to 6 Spain, 6 to 9 New York, 9 to 11 Philippines, and then 11 to 13 New York, and then Manila again, and then I finally moved like in 1989 to Los Angeles. We lived by Park La Brea, went to an all-boys school, Daniel Murphy.
Okay.
And that was hard because going to school in from age, let's say, 3 to 10, 3 to 11, it's like, oh, you eat rice in the morning?
Yeah.
On Saturdays, we go to a Chinese restaurant and then we eat rice. That's what a Euro friend or a classmate would say. And then it would get to the spiel of the Latinos were like, are you stupid? We have rice and beans every day. So I found allegiance with Latinos right away. And it turns out as we get older, we find out, oh, of course, it's the spice trade fucking people. Everyone who was Catholicized by force.
Yeah, we were ruled by Spain.
And Portugal.
Okay, yeah.
And any Jesuit priest, wherever European country that had Spanish, Portugal, and Jesuit priest influence, right? Wow. So the Mexicans have the same fucking diaspora. Puerto Rico is still an American state, technically.
Yeah.
Is it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's an American territory. Yeah.
Still, the Philippines, was a former territory.
Yep.
Until the Spanish-American War, and then we got liberated in, is it 1896? Something like that. I'm so astute. Charlesopedia in the motherfucking house. So that's a little bit of me and Russ's background, which we'll paint some more for the seasonal podcast. But this serving as a prequel and soup and salad to the podcast is the movie Crazy Rich Asians.
Yes.
So Russ, initially, when I go... Hey, dude, let's go watch Crazy Rich Asians. You got to see it. What were you thinking already before you saw the movie?
Well, before I saw the movie, I started. See, the movie's been out
couple months
now, and I just saw it yesterday with you. And prior to that, I was seeing a lot of. Before the movie got released, because I live in Burbank, so it's down the street from Warner Brothers. I would always pass by the studio, and I saw the big posters. And I was like, well, I wonder what this movie's about. Crazy Rich Asians. Is this a stereotype? Is one of those stereotype movies or something?
Like a Kardashian of the East kind of thing, right?
Right. And, I never really intended to really go actually watch it when I saw the poster. And because there was a bunch of posters there. The marketing on it was awesome. You know what I mean? But then I started seeing a lot of hype on it on Facebook and a lot of social media posts. A lot of people started writing about it, not writing about it, but saying good things about it on Facebook.
On their threads.
Right? And it got me really interested in it. And then I ran into a few people here and there that really loved it. I can't remember exactly who, but they would say good
non-Asians.
Yeah, good stuff about it, And I had, I think, one or two Filipino friends that put in really good like reviews about it. And it got me interested, but I was like, oh. And then I found out that it was supposed to be, they had like the producers or something had a choice whether they were going to put it on Netflix or they're going to put it and they had this opportunity to pitch it to Warner Brothers. And Warner Brothers only, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not sure about the exact details. But from what my understanding is, Warner Brothers only gave them a certain amount of budget, or like they were going to only pay a certain amount. And they probably would have made more up front if they had released it through Netflix. But the producers said, no, we need the platform of Hollywood and we need to get it out to the theaters.
Sure.
And I thought, like, hearing that put some sense of pride in me. Like, wow, they took a huge risk, because they wanted to uplift the Asian culture, and I love it because when you say Crazy Rich Asians, or even having the word Asian in it, Asia is so big. And, personally, the past few years, I've been able to travel to I've been living in the Philippines for the past 3 years, but I've been to Vietnam and Thailand, and I've been more exposed to Asia just the past few years. I'm 43 years old, and I've never really traveled into Asia besides the Philippines. But seeing Asia on that level, it's like there's a huge world out there that we living in America doesn't really know about.
And even Filipinos per se. In
even
the Philippines.
Yes.
If you haven't been to Vietnam or Thailand, it's a different world.
It's a different world.
There's some familiar things by geography and skin tone and
the
facial
weather,
structure.
stuff like that, yeah.
Sure. But it's a different culture.
Yeah. And even, I'll tell you this, even like, speaking of my father, he's been to China a few times the past few years because, there's a printing company in the Philippines, and, they're doing a lot of, stuff with China, and China's huge in printing. And there's so many like documentaries I'm seeing in the Philippines about China. China's huge. I mean, there's
each province can have its own doc, dude.
Yes. And one thing my father told me was that what China did recently is they actually started hiring winemakers from Italy, and they would import them into China to teach them how to make wine.
And Shanghai's doing that too, because there's big money in Shanghai.
So the supply for the wine that they're creating in China is good enough just to supply the country. That's how much economy is going on in China right now, right?
So to press forward with your opinion, what was your thought? Like, what was your impression? Like, okay, Charles invited me to Crazy Rich Asians. Did you have a good feeling, bad feeling? Were you curious?
I was excited.
Okay.
I was excited. Well, first of all, I was gonna be able to hang out with you, and you kind of like told me a little bit here and there about Crazy Rich Asians.
Intentionally held back.
Yeah, but I was like, oh, it's cool, man. I'm gonna be able to watch it with you, and I know we're gonna like dialogue about it afterwards and stuff. And you know what? After seeing a lot of the stuff online and the red carpet that they did in Hollywood, I was really curious to what was all the hype was all about. I heard they were like number one for 5 weeks running, and I mean they beat a lot of movies I think that were supposed to be number one, and that's a huge deal because it's an all Asian cast.
And you know what's crazy too, Russ, is I've pushed a lot of people, but because we're grinding so hard in America, living, albeit just the American hustle, the dream, and you forget to prioritize, to step back and go, wait, this might be both leisurely and important.
Yeah.
For me to see.
Well, that's true because remember, I think I mentioned it when we were buying the tickets yesterday. I said, this is the first movie I'm going to watch since I got back to America.
Since 2018.
Yeah. Like I've been in LA since January 2018. And in the Philippines, I'm watching the movie like once or twice a month.
Quick sidebar for yous listening or watching. Russell has a girlfriend that lives in Manila. That's why and his dad lives in Manila and has a printing company. So there's that bridge to that bridge.
Yeah.
About the conversation, the context of the conversation. Sure, go ahead.
No, that's fine. So yeah, I mean that's the whole And it's funny because being able to watch it on a Friday, just to chill, it was really relaxing, and I thought the movie was the energy was so good, like it wasn't so dramatic. It wasn't a dramatic movie. It wasn't like a teleserie, if you're Filipino and you have Filipino parents, you probably have the Filipino channel at home, which is TFC, right? And a lot of the shows on TFC, for my opinion, is very dramatic. It's very like emotional, and this movie was not like that at all. I mean, there were some parts where it got a little serious, but it was so well balanced that I left the movie feeling like uplifted.
Good. Because the one thing is what's common to a lot of cultures that I've noticed that is like post-spice trade. Like the Latinos, the Mexicans have their own, the derivative teleserie.
Okay.
Telenovelas.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So they do have that too, like really bad, over dramatized, scenic fucking TV shows. And it's like, oh no, it's gonna take like 5 seconds for one stab to go so you can feel it, and then it takes 3 seconds for you to react to the stab. It's like, oh my God, you son of a bitch, fuck you and your whole family who stole money from my family. Here comes the second stab.
Yeah.
And then it's just something about being colonialized where you're not comfortable with yourself. Because like I watch Chinese films, they're so confident, dude. Superman Clark Kent has an S in his chest. And the Spanish, they have their own style. They're confident. They just put it out. The Indians, Bollywood.
Okay.
Even though they have been colonialized, but they had a strong forefront of themselves after, right? With the British, because it was never really a full blown. It became like a working relationship.
Okay.
With the Brits and the Indians.
Okay.
But with the Filipinos, a lot of the Mexicans that I know, they encounter the same thing. There's like the light-skinned flips or Latinos versus the Indios. We have the same thing. Like the darker you are, you're probably poorer or lower in the social strata. Right?
Okay.
Right? It's like, this is a dark one.
Yeah.
Right.
Unfortunately, it happens a lot.
That's in the culture. But the relief for me, I will funnel back into Crazy Rich Asians, is learning that other cultures experience the same thing.
Okay.
Because in the first part, Russ, I thought like the fact that Filipinos, I just felt like it was only us. So I both kind of self-loathe our culture.
Okay.
Because it's like, dude, we have this crabs in a barrel mentality.
That is a huge part in our culture, the crab mentality, bro. Like, unfortunate, like I'm pretty sure we both experienced it personally.
Sure.
And it's just one thing that I want to create awareness of, because I think a lot of people outside the culture have come to me personally and they've experienced it.
On their own culture or with Filipinos?
Filipinos.
Okay.
So
Mexicans encountered it. Even Kevin Hart and Tiffany Haddish was recently on The Breakfast Club, and they were talking about blacks and crabs in a barrel.
Really?
So happy. Not that it's occurring to everyone, but to know like, oh, it's not just distinguished to us.
Okay.
And more shame, more blame. So I'll add my thoughts about Crazy Rich Asians, the movie, and then I'll get yours, because now we just spoke about your expectation and how you liked about it. I thought it was good that it was in a niche country like Singapore. We talked about this at the Shake Shack.
Yeah.
No one knows about. Okay, I am aware there is a country called Singapore, but what the fuck is a Singaporean, right? And to me, it's great that these Chinese Americans went ahead. Korean Americans, for the most part, I think it's the crew was comprised of mostly Chinese Americans, Chinese Malaysians, and Korean.
Okay.
Like I think Ken Jeong is Korean, and Aquafina, the girl with the blonde hair,
she's awesome.
She's Chinese and Korean.
Okay.
So it was mainly comprised of that ethnic makeup, but it's good that it started with a niche over a niche. Okay, Asians. Okay, we know Japanese. We know Chinese. We know K-pop in Korea. So they went sub.
I think that was a really good move. I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No. Do you think?
But I heard about Singapore because one of my business coaches, he grew up in Singapore. So that's the reason why I was exposed to it, because he's from Singapore. His name's JP, right? And my fiance, Vici, she's been to Singapore a few times, and she's always told me how she loved it. And it's kind of funny. My dad just went there this year with a bunch of his business partners, and he was saying how great it is, right? And he sent me some pictures. So actually, watching the movie, it was familiar, like seeing some of the some of the places that my dad had sent me pictures of. But yeah, I personally never thought about Singapore myself, and even growing up here in LA, is like they have Chinese food. If you want Asian food, it's like Chinese, Thai, Vietnamese, Filipino, Korean, Japanese, right?
Done.
Yeah, but Singaporean food, like but there is such a thing, right? And I think it's just a mix of a lot of things. And yeah, just that movie, I think the location was perfect for what the movie was trying to portray.
So I'll expand some more on Singapore, right? So I've lived there for short bursts, like 8 months, 9 months, 1.5 years in the 80s. And they stayed true to the culture, which is in the movie, without trying to be too big of a spoiler, is the food culture.
Okay,
the
yeah.
Street food culture. That's very big. And you can imagine, I've pushed this to all my friends. New York is dope for like steaks, Jordanian food. They were like the pioneers of like Grace Papaya. It's like, whoa, this is American street food. But you go to Singapore, you taste Indian, and the curries between the East Indians and the Malaysians, those are two different curries. And then there's the Chinese element.
Okay.
So you can imagine the delicious podge that has been put together. And props to both Sir Raffles, who first established the trading docks out there, and then the Chinese president that's known as like the modern day king of Singapore. Not king, but like who established Singapore.
Okay.
Lee Kuan Yew. He's the guy that said, you know what? All this fucking real estate, we're going to subsidize it and we're going to control it.
Wow.
So there's not going to be like a different percentage rate here, different percentage rate here. And you know what we're going to do for the poorer folks? We're going to give them housing.
Wow.
We're going to give them housing.
That's awesome.
Giant. So progressive.
Yeah.
And also the not so progressive is probably in the 80s or 90s. There was like a white kid that
I remember that
was chewing gum, or he defaced a few cars also.
Yeah.
And he got fucking caned.
Yeah. I was just going to bring that up right now, because another thing I heard about Singapore was how strict they are. Like, you can't even throw your gum or your trash on the floor. You get fined for it or something huge.
Even arrested that far.
Yeah. So it's very extreme to what we're used to here in the US, But yeah, like that's a huge thing. And if you don't mind, if I have a side thing on this, like you were talking about like the street food in Singapore and how everything's kind of because in the movie they show a map of Singapore, right? When they're
Sure.
And it reminds me right now what's going on in the LA culture, how food is so big right now, like the whole foodie movement, right? And because I think social media is exposing so many of the food, just even here, I'm going to talk about LA because that's where we're at right now, but I'm seeing a lot of fusion mixes, like a Filipino taco or a Korean taco, because I think all our cultures right now in LA is so diverse that like the food is kind of blending in with each other now.
And that's what Singapore had for the longest time.
Yeah.
I mean, East Indian, Malaysian, and Chinese. Like within the Chinese structure, for you who's listening and watching, there is, if you say you're Chinese, no, I'm Chinese, I'm Shanghainese, I'm Taiwanese, and I'm Chinese from Singapore.
Yeah.
The Chinese are very distinct about where they're from. So that's another part of like the small minutia that me and Russell are trying to explain and expose to you guys as listeners. There's a lot of things which will offshoot just because of this movie, will offshoot into so many different episodes of a podcast. One other thing is, I think for most of the story for Asians that's been exposed is that Asians that have parents that take care of them. Personally, between you and me, I come from that mix. Do you remember a movie called Better Luck Tomorrow?
No.
Okay. It was about Orange County kind of hood rat Asians. Justin Lin wrote about. Justin is one of the directors for what is that movie where Michelle Rodriguez, they're driving cars? Fast and the Furious.
Okay, yeah.
Like I think he was Tokyo Drift.
Okay. It's episode 2 or 3. Tokyo Drift.
Could be 3.
Yeah.
But anyways, there's the other side of like the poor Asians.
Okay, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But I think at this point it's good that they exposed like the family, the not necessarily well raised, because there's conflict, right? Because the son is affluent, comes from an affluent family. The mom used to be poor, became affluent, and then now judges people who are like fairly established and well above the working class.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up. The way I saw that was she knew how hard it was to get to their point. Like she had to prove herself, because she wasn't rich. She mentioned it, right? And she married into a rich family, right? And she had to prove herself. And she said in the movie, I'm not trying to,
No, you're just setting it up.
Movie, but I think from her point of view, she was just trying to protect the family's business, right?
Sure, because she's so deep into it.
Yeah, which I understand, because I think because in the beginning of the movie will set the tone for, I think, what was supposed to happen, and without exposing too much of the movie, like they were like rejected a few times as being poor or being Chinese, right?
With money already.
With money. And so, and I think for her, just having that motherly, protective, like
mother bear.
Yeah, and I see that a lot in the Filipino community. The mother would always try to protect the children, right? But I think it's just a motherly instinct, right? And that's what I feel like she wasn't trying to. I don't think she was trying to be mean to the girlfriend in the movie. I just think her priority is her family, and she doesn't know who, because obviously, like they have so much wealth, she just doesn't know the intention of the girl.
Let me set this up for the listening audience. What Russell and I are referring to is Michelle Yeoh, who is a legend in the Asian community. I was first exposed to her through Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Awesome.
Okay? Yeah. With the advent of YouTube, now you can do research. This chick is like the female Jackie Chan with dramatic chops.
She's awesome. Because
she did a bunch of kung fu movies. So for me, like, it's perfect for like the Equal Rights Amendment in the 70s and the Me Too movement now. This is a powerful woman. She was like the badass and lead role in all these Chinese kung fu movies. And then, so she plays the mom, the crazy rich Asian mom. Constance Wu's character, raised as a single parent methodology. I won't spoil anything, but there's several turns to her family upbringing and the liaison of how that worked out. And then she is self-made. She lives in New York. She's like a gaming theory professor in NYU. self-made.
Yep.
And for us Filipinos in America, Filipino Americans, you look at that and go, holy shit, she's self-made,
Yeah.
works for a top-tier college in New York.
Yep.
And it's not like it's like PE, no disrespect to PE instructors. I'm sure you have your own challenges. But this is like an economics
Yeah. Yeah.
lineage of fucking thought. So for what Russell and I are trying to explain is this girl, I think Rachel is her name. I don't even remember.
I don't remember.
Seen it twice. Terrible. But, you know, for Henry Golding, male counterpart, the love interest who comes from a rich family, how can you not fall in love with a chick like that?
Yeah.
Down to earth, smart,
Yeah.
probably low maintenance.
Yeah, it seemed like in the movie they portrayed like she was low maintenance.
Right.
Yeah, and you know, I definitely could relate with her because see, they made a big point of this in the movie. She was Chinese American,
Right.
which the mother was. They kind of made a point like, and I don't know if it's a stereotype that they have in Asia about the Americans, but they feel like in America, it's a different mindset versus the Chinese in China or in Asia, right? Where they're more loyal to like not about being comfortable or following your passion, but it's what's right for the family.
That is still old world thinking. And ironically, Michelle Yeoh's character met the father in the University of Boston.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but the thing is, dude, like, I mean, this is the dirty Asian in me, but I would become a fucking cum bucket the moment I go, like, oh, this guy comes from fucking money, dude. If I'm flying that Pacific Azea Airlines, by the way, there's a scene in the movie where they fly, and it looks like this airplane has studio apartments in the airplane with a bar.
Yeah.
I'd be
awesome.
like, you know what, hun? You are never pulling out each time we have sex for this whole year. Because those plane tickets could have been at least $8,000. About $8,000.
Absolutely. And I think that's what the mom was protecting her son from.
Without it being said, though.
Yeah.
Which was great.
Yeah.
But it was, but she was so like Zsa Zsa Gabor, Eva Gabor, Imelda Marcos about herself, where it's like, yeah, I was poor, but I am rich. You are not.
Yeah.
And my son, she doesn't say this in the movie, my son needs to marry rich.
Pretty much. That's
And
what she was saying.
you ain't shit.
Yeah. And I love I just love how Constance Wu, like her character, overcame that, and I'm really trying not to.
No, just say it.
Spoil the movie.
You know what? We could even call it the spoiler
Okay.
movie alert. So just please
Perfect.
spew it.
Yeah, but she overcame that, like the challenges of dealing with the mother and the grandmother, trying to protect their son and their grandson, and she did it with dignity and she did it with like class, and I think that's what really made the movie for me, because I think in life in general, like something's always gonna try to take you out, right? Just in general,
Sure.
there's always gonna be challenges. I just had this conversation earlier, but with somebody, and I'm like, dude, life is not gonna be handed to you on a platter. Like no matter what, like if you're gonna be, following your dream or your passion or whatever it is, something in the universe will test you, and you got to prove it that you're actually worth that. You know what I mean?
And for the listening audience, give him specific instead of you've set up the general part. Give him specific to the movie, like how she was tested.
Well, obviously she loved the guy
Henry Golding,
right?
Sure.
She loved him, and she was willing to give, like the saying, if you love something, let it go. If it comes back to you, it's meant to be.
Sure.
I think that's a perfect example in the movie, because she knew, like, he had to make a choice between her and his family and his family's business and all that. And so she was the one that said, F it, you know? I don't want any part of this, you know? Whatever, you decide. You're on your own now. But he made his decision, and even in that whole part with the mom and the grandmother, like, disgraced her and her family, she was still classy enough not to fight fire with fire.
Let me compliment your point.
Yeah.
Because I feel like there are phases to dating and impressing an Asian mom, right? Mm-hmm. There's the one phase where you're over respectful.
Yeah.
Then the mom was disrespectful. And then what do you do as an Asian? You fucking self-efface and then you crumble. Mm-hmm. Why is she like this? Why is she like that?
Yeah.
And then it got to a point by the way, Aquafina is a scene stealer.
Oh, I loved her character.
In this, which, by the way, I never liked Aquafina because you know what I thought? Here we go. Chigger. Chigger. Like, you know, like how they call whites wiggers?
Okay.
Like, Chinese GER. Here we go. But there's so much more substance behind it. And I'll talk about that maybe in a separate episode about like Asians in America and which culture they direct towards, which is either black or white, or you stay fobby, right?
Got it.
So anyways, it got to a point where, thank God, she had a friend in Singapore, and then she went to fight back.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where she attended a wedding, and she wore this stunning dress. I thought she kind of first looked like a fucking swan. But, you know, it looked, after you see the rest of the dress, it looks dope.
Man.
Not to be all queer eye and shit.
Yeah, man. See, I only knew Constance Wu from Fresh Off the Boat. But, man, I mean, in this movie, she just had this, like, aura about her. And it's just awesome, you know, just the whole... I don't know, man. I think I ended up having a crush on her or something.
Those dimples, dude.
You know? She's cutie, you know? But, yeah, like, definitely each character in the movie was well written and well played.
Oh, sorry, Russ. Let me finish the phases.
Yeah.
So she got to a point where she was biting back. And then when she received the same strife again, she was like, fuck this. To compliment your point.
Yeah.
She's like, fuck this. I don't need to fucking deal with this shit.
Doesn't.
I don't need you people.
She said it straight up. I don't need your family. Remember? That was awesome.
Dunzo.
Yeah.
So go ahead. But I just wanted to finish my point as far as for all the phases.
Okay.
Or can I keep going for a little bit? And
Go ahead.
So that to me is a very important part of like progression in the Asian culture also. Because you almost have to be direct but not disrespectful to the parent.
Yeah.
But I've experienced that with dating this girl, Christine.
Okay.
Like, her mom was just a bitch. And her mom wanted her to end up with someone white or Latin. And whitewash Latin. She was one of those self-loathing Filipinos.
Okay.
Christine was half white, half Filipino.
Got it.
So it's that stereotype, like, I'm Filipino, but you know what? I'm going to marry a white guy because I can't stand Filipinos.
Yeah, unfortunately.
You know what I'm saying? And that was like her first, like, Filipino love. And I treated the bitch like fucking Maria Clara. And I was Jose Rizal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then I went through the same phases because I was like a fucking pussy-ass 22-year-old.
Okay.
But, you know, we're trained as disciplinarians to, like, don't talk back. Yeah. And when I started talking back because my ex-girlfriend's mom was attacking my mom because she was diabetic and I'm diabetic, don't marry him.
Wow.
He's fucking diabetic. You're going to have diabetic children.
Wow.
What a fucking bitch. And then from there on, I am not Constance Wu. I don't have a good vagina. So I just ended up cheating on Christine, no exaggeration, like 12 times.
Wow.
In like 3 years.
Man. Wow. Okay.
No exaggeration, 12.
No.
Easily 12.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lava Life and Yahoo Chat Groups and Pasadena City College.
PCC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Junior college folks, you know? So yeah, that's I've experienced that exact same stigma, and
Okay.
I wish I would have had the balls just to leave instead of be left.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean?
I get it.
So that's one character. We talked about Michelle Yeoh. We talked about Constance Wu. Henry Golding. I felt this in the very beginning, Russ. It's like, why does it have to be a fucking half Asian, half white kid?
Okay.
But you know what he said in one interview? So if I don't make a role for a Caucasian American because I'm not Caucasian enough, how the fuck am I supposed? He didn't say how the fuck, but he said, how am I supposed to feel?
Yeah.
So where am I at now?
Wow.
So going into the movie, I was like, you better fucking act the fuck out of this, dude.
He did a great part.
Because his best friend could have played the part.
Oh, really? I didn't know this.
Well, no, I'm just saying, like,
Oh.
his best friend is good looking enough
Okay.
to be the lead. Because there was a lot of, like, good looking leads there,
Okay.
right?
Oh, yeah. Okay. The best friend in the movie.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
The one that they
Yeah.
went to the Hawker
Yeah.
Centers. So he's a good looking guy, too.
Yeah.
But I was just like, all right, let me pull back. I was very like, great, it's already a romantic comedy. I already know Asians love corny shit. And now you have a fucking half white guy?
Got it.
But thank God I'm 43 also.
Uh-huh.
And I go, you know what? Let me watch first.
yeah.
But that was an initial reaction. I was happy with how he carried himself.
Oh, yeah.
How did you feel?
Well, for me, I'll say it again. I think each character that they casted, each artist that they casted did a great job. And one thing that I love the movie. I don't know if you can tell yet at this point, but I really love the movie.
We're only recording a episode of Dash and filming it, Russ.
Right? But I did love it. Why? Because I personally thought it was a great exposure to I don't know what to call it, but to Hollywood. You know what I mean? Because there's been so many stereotypes about Asians, right? Whether it's the sitcom Fresh Off the Boat, which I could totally relate with because I could feel like when I watched that episode or the show, that was me growing up in the 80s. You know what I mean? But, and I'm going to go a little bit more into my personal life because this is why I love the movie so much, right? But, see, the past 3 years I've been living in the Philippines, right? And a lot of people, and I've got so much shit for, like, living in the Philippines. A lot of my friends, relatives, like, why do you want to move back to a third world country?
Sure.
Everybody's trying to fight to come over here. Everyone's trying to fight to come to America. and I'll admit, and I've told this, I've said it many times. I go, when I go to the Philippines, I don't expect it to be America. And when I'm in America, I don't expect it to be the Philippines, which is the same thing to do, right? I think what people think is, and I hate it when people start comparing the Philippines. Oh, in the Philippines, and they start talking shit about all this shit about the Philippines. I'm like, dude, well, that's the Philippines. It's the culture there, right? And I think some people that have been raised and grown up there, they come over here forgetting their roots.
Right, because it's all tied economically.
Economically, right?
Right.
So why I love this movie is because the stereotype of Asia being a third world region, whether it's, and there are parts that are still third world, but I want people to know that it's not just a third. There's so much wealth in Asia, right? There's so much wealth in Asia. Actually, a lot of the Chinese companies owns LA and the US now. You know what I mean? And that's another topic later on. But seeing this, I just wanted people to know, like, hey, not everybody's trying to fight to come to America. You know what I mean? And I've had this conversation with you many times because I've been getting hit left and right about why do I live in the Philippines and this, why don't I bring my family over here? I want to raise them in the Philippines. You know what I mean? And it's like, and that show, like, just showing the wealth in Asia. I mean, even if that wedding, man, the wedding in the movie, that's not a cheap move. That's not a cheap wedding.
That is the grandest wedding I've seen to date in a movie.
Yeah. And Even if it's in a movie, that actually happens in real life in Asia.
Here's the thing. I'm gonna play Russell's friend right now. Prepare for an emotional outburst. For you fucks who don't know what Russell goes through, what I went through, it's because all you know is fucking poor, unsalvaged personalities and lives. You're all Good Morning Vietnam. We have Peking duck dinners in metropolitan Makati, which is one of the better urbanite cities. We've had drinks in BGC with Jason. And because all you know are the fucking poor fucks. All you dirt Asians. Not everyone's a fucking dirt Asian. And guess what? Sorry, Russ. But Russell's girlfriend's fiance's family does well.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to fucking fly out to America. There's the chicks I'm proud to fuck. I fucked some ugly bunk bitches in Manila also. Thank you to Tinder. But what I'm really proud of is when I get a pretty fucking Asian who comes from wealth and fucks me by the second or third date. Which, by the way, is a mountainous accomplishment for Gen Xers.
Yeah.
Like, I've boned one or two, but in the first or second date, but that's like a month long of talking. So for a lot of you that like doubt people who go back, it's not just fuckfest Asia, jerk off in a fucking nice hotel bed. It's because there's a life out there.
Yeah.
Just the same way these Singaporeans can give 3 shits about you. You want to know why? Because they treat America as a place to do shopping.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't give a fuck to live in the fucking U.S.
That's so true. That's so true. Actually,
They
yeah.
can't give any fucks about that.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because my fiance doesn't even want to. I don't know. She just doesn't want to live. She'd rather just come here and do some sightseeing.
Sure.
She said, whatever. And like, I'll hear like so many people going, "Oh, I would never want to like date someone from the Philippines because I know they just want my passport." I heard this like 2 weeks ago, right? I'm like, what kind of person are you? First of all, what kind of person are you attracting? You know what I mean? Because like, what's your circle like for you to attract that? I'm not being judgmental. I'm just saying, look, don't stereotype me. You know what I mean? Don't stereotype my person.
Your relationship.
Yeah, don't stereotype my relationship. You know what I mean? And this movie, I loved it so much because it showed that not everybody in Asia is poor.
Right, and not everyone in Asia strives to be elsewhere.
Exactly.
Maybe there's people that are just fucking happy to be where they're at.
Yeah.
It's like, how much better are you if you live like, let's say in the West Side, but all you know is the West Side bubble. There's like a growing food scene in the 626.
Oh, yeah.
The last fucking 15 years.
Yeah.
You know, like
amazing.
The downtown area between Little Tokyo, the arts district and the brewery district. Jason and I co-host just discovered 2 new bars.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, fuck off. But we have 8 minutes to wrap.
Okay.
Because studio's going to close up.
Okay.
And we'll have a minute. So that's we've addressed the mom, Constance Wu, Henry Golding.
Yeah.
Just in 30 seconds, did you ever wonder where the fuck is the dad?
They said, they said he went away for a business trip because he handles business. But then there was really no
room for him to be in the film.
Yeah.
That is a silent extrapolation of how the parental figures were for Asians.
Yeah.
You had a dad that was living in Manila.
Yeah.
Mom was raising you here in the U.S.
Yeah.
I had the exact same experience.
Yeah.
But my dad is an evil vagina buffet artist.
Oh, Charles.
So I love my dad. My dad just passed. That's another story. I took care of him.
You did.
His
Take care of him.
Last 2 years of his dying days. So, but I'm just, that was worth noting, I feel.
Yeah.
That the dad did not, because he was so about the money, the legend, the name.
Yeah. The empire.
The empire.
Yeah.
right? I didn't think about it till like weeks after
Wow.
I saw the movie.
That's, I'm glad you brought that up because I didn't even think about the dad. Like after the fact that they had mentioned he went away for a business trip, that was it. Like the whole movie was, like they didn't even need him in there.
Yeah,
they didn't
exactly. Because that's how big a tale the Asian story is. So let's wrap this up.
Okay.
In 3 minutes, I'll give you a minute to answer this question, and I'll give my spew. Do you think Asian Americans can band together the way African Americans band together?
I see that.
Because here's the deal. Like, everyone who's black in the U.S., if they don't have traced roots, everyone's just African American.
Got it.
Even though, like, Kool Herc, the founder of hip-hop,
Okay.
who brought toasting, is Caribbean.
Got it.
That's not from the continent of Africa. That's, it's Caribbean roots. But they all fall under African American. Tell me why you think, in 30 seconds, if you can, why it can work.
Well, I think it can work because, especially like the Asian American communities, because growing up, I was cool. Like I was like at high school, I was cool with the Korean Americans, the Vietnamese Americans, the Filipino Americans. Like we're all like cool with each other, So my personal experience in that, I just think it could work, and I don't think it. I want to go more into it next time, but definitely like seeing like the explosions of like the Koreatown, or like
Little Saigon in Garden Grove.
Saigon, and now lately they've been having so many events in Chinatown in LA. Like
Let's develop historic Filipino town. Hopefully.
That's another topic, but hopefully.
So many topics.
But yeah, I'm the one thing though is I think that and I want to be positive about it, but I think it definitely is there is more hope of the Asian Americans, creating a bigger unity, and especially that this movie just showed how great if we all work together that it'll happen.
Right. Here comes Darth Vader Charlie in his opinion. Okay. Let me be Darth Vader after he died and then resurrected and try to be positive to Luke. I think it's a strong work in progress.
Yes.
I think Koreans are still forefronting the Korean label. I think the Chinese are very to themselves. And like, I still have to buy my mansion in fucking Arcadia before I can help you.
Well, okay.
Relax, Vietnamese.
You actually
I'm buying my McMansion.
You have a good point there.
Filipinos are still finding themselves.
Yeah.
Because we're so goddamn fucking westernized and we forget about our roots, which is why we're doing this recording. But to be positive Darth Vader, all burnt and shit and talking to Luke and, I'm your dad and fucking sorry. Fucking, you had to fly an X-Wing fighter and fight the Force. And ride with that giant poodle Chewbacca. And you actually kissed your sister.
Oh my god. Wow.
But this movie is a great spawning of opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, to wrap, recommend it to both. How do you feel? A, B, or C? I guess, do you recommend it to everyone? Recommend it to everyone, but strongly to Asians? Or you have another point of view?
Everyone.
Everyone. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. I recommend it to everyone. I'm at the B, where it's like I recommend it to everyone, but very strongly for Asians to find a grasp that, dude, if we all fought together, we're like the Infinity War.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, there was a quote in the beginning of the movie
Okay.
about
The sleeping giant,
yeah.
Theodore Roosevelt, I think, was it?
I think it was Napoleon Bonaparte.
Oh, yes. That, a different insecure.
Napoleon Bonaparte, I think, right?
Yeah.
But it's true. And that he said that, a while back.
Sleeping giant, dude.
Yeah.
Sleeping giant. So let's see where this goes. And thank you, Russell.
Thanks for having me, Charles.
Yeah, we're going to be doing 5 episodes.
That's awesome. Excited.
And we're going to bang out 4 next week, hopefully.
I'm excited.
And signing off. What do you want to call? We'll figure it out behind the scenes what we want to call this.
Okay.
Signing off on the Plug 12 Network. Thanks.